قبل كل أول والآخر بعد كل آخر والحمد لله المتجلي لخلقه بخلقه والظاهر لقلوبهم بحجتي ثم الصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه وحجتي سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين أرواحنا له فداء أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم واذكر في الكتاب إبراهيم إنه كان صديقا نبيا صدق الله علي العظيم اللهم صل على محمد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته جميع المؤمنين والمؤمنات. And again, I congratulate all of you on the auspicious month of Ramadan and the blessings that are held therein, and particularly the Qur'an, which in these nights we are examining some of the insights or daily insights that we can gain from the Qur'an, and particularly connecting them with the du'as of each day. So the dua of the 16th day of Ramadan points out two things that inshallah we can have within our lives or develop within our lives or continue to develop these aspects in our lives. In that dua, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for, some say three things, or we can break it down into two things. And I've pointed out two things which are very important. One of them is muwafaqatil abrar, to be in agreement or have the companionship of those who are righteous. And the second thing we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for, وَجَنِّبْنِي مُرَافَقَةِ الْأَشْرَارِ, to keep me at bay or at distance from being in the company of those who are wicked. So it's very clear that this dua and this day of Ramadan or the day of Ramadan, that we're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for good, wholesome companionship, friendship, which is something that is very important, is something necessary in our lives as human beings, because we are social creatures. I know sometimes that, especially in this generation and this new era, sometimes we are more companions of our devices than we are with other people. You know, a lot of times people, they can sit in a corner and for hours and hours upon hours on their phone and not even pay any attention to another human being. Yes, while this technology has advantages, it also has disadvantages. And as even children, even the tarbiyah and the upbringing of children, there was a point where, I remember as young kids, we would go out and we would be playing outside, running through the woods, discovering things outside, riding our bikes from one side of the city to the other side. So now today, kids, what do? They're sitting, they're playing video games or watching a video, and they're not making that relationship, that human relationship, as they should. And it affects people. I remember once that I was traveling I was in between countries, traveling from one country to another, I was traveling, coming, I think, back into the States. So I'm stopped by the security, the border police. And so when they see my passport and they see, all these stamps from Iran. So they started asking, he's like, hey, what were you doing in Iran? I said, I said, just pay a little bit of attention to the visa. It says what? Student visa. So I'm a student. I was a student there. So then they asked, when was the last time you went to Iran? So I said, I went to Iran maybe, I think at that time, maybe 6 months prior to that. It was like, do you have friends in Iran? So I said, yeah, I have friends in Iran. So then the next question was like, why do you have friends in Iran? I started thinking, I was like, I said, well, I'm a human being. And human beings are social creatures. And so human beings, we mingle, we connect with people, we talk with people, we have friends. So then they asked me, oh, what were you doing in our country? I said, well, I came to visit friends. Why do you have friends here? I said, well, I'm a human being. We're social creatures. And then, I connected with some people, so I have friends, so I visit friends. Then I asked the question. I was like, do you have any friends? At that point, the response was like, oh, here, go. Just leave. But sometimes this technology, it truly separates us from our humanity. And so this is one of the things that we make dua for in the blessed month of Ramadan. Not only that, throughout the Qur'an, we see this human side of ourselves, or at least what is encouraged from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to have good relationships, good companionships. And of course, in the 16th Juz of the Qur'an, which covers the rest of Surah Al-Kahf, Surah Maryam, and then also Surah Taha. And in each of these surahs, we see that there are certain companionships and relations that are established. First and foremost, the Surah Al-Kahf, the Ashab Al-Kahf, all of these young men who were friends, who were companions. And they helped each other and they stuck together in order to what? To safeguard their deen. This is one of the important things of having good, wholesome friendship. When we make this dua that, oh Allah, give me the tawfiq to do what? And uwafika muwafaqat al-abrar. To Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, give me the success to have good friends. Unfortunately, sometimes, if we are, and truly we have to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for good friendship, good companionship. Because sometimes, we may not be the best of judges of getting the best of friends, the best of companions, but we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Allah, that surround me by good company. The abrar, and inshallah, this quality of the abrar is something that definitely should come to fruition among the youth of this community, because mashallah, one of the name of your youth group is Al-Abrar, as I see in some of the signs up. So inshallah, may they be among the abrar. And within the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he actually lists 10 qualities of the abrar. What are the qualities of the abrar? And just simply for sake of time, not to go through all of those 10 things, those 10 qualities, we can summarize them up in one quality. And what is that? That their existence, their being, and whatever they do is for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Their likes, their dislikes, their love, all of these things are what? Lillah, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are the people who are the abrar. And inshallah, truly, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give this community tawfiq to raise the youth as the abrar, those individuals who their connection is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Their connection is for their companionship, their relationship is for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That perhaps in times of difficulties, and of course we don't have to go far, look at the news, whether we are reading a newspaper, whether we're turning on the television, to see the state of the world, to see how things are. And at least what we know within the riwayat of Ahlul Bayt alayhim afdhalu salatu wasalam, that it's not going to get any easier. That before the reappearance of Imam Zaman al-Jafar al-Sharif, that the world is going to become more difficult. That the injustice, the oppression that surrounds us in this world will become even more difficult. And one of the ways to protect yourself from that, one of the ways to protect your youth from that, your next generation, is to make sure that they have good friendships, they have good companionship, that they are surrounded by the al-abrar, that they have some companions like the companions of the cave. They have companions, again, in the surahs that we recited, again, the companionship, the relationship between Musa, Yusha ibn Nun, Khidr, that type of companionship which reminds you of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In fact, that is the criterion that Isa ibn Maryam, ala nabiyina wa ali alayhi salam, that he mentioned to his companions, the Hawariyin, when they asked Isa ibn Maryam, he said that, with whom should we sit? Who are the people that we should keep company with? Then Isa ibn Maryam, he gave 3 criteria. He says that these are the individuals that you should take as your companions, that you should sit with, that you should keep company with. He says, مَن يُذَكِّرُكُمُ اللَّهُ رُؤْيَتُهُ. First thing, that by looking at this individual, they remind you of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They remind you of your duty to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They remind you to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Again, whether it's the way they dress, the way they carry themselves, the way they talk, again, avoiding riba, as we mentioned in the Ahkam. The second criterion that Isa ibn Maryam gave, he says, مَن يُزِيدُ فِي عِلْمِكُمْ مَنْتِقُهُ. Says, when that person speaks, that person increases you in understanding and knowledge. You learn something from it. You gain something from that individual. And again, this is perhaps the second time, of course, in Austin I mentioned one of my great friends, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless him. We haven't had contact for some time, but if he's still living, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless him. If he's passed along from this dunya, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless him. Again, because he was one of those good friends we had in Qom that, after during our lessons, we would go to the room, the otaq of one of our friends, and we would sit, drink tea, sometimes drink coffee, just talk and just discuss, just to relax. But this brother, his name was Jawad, but we called him Jawad Ahlul Bayt. Why did we call him Jawad Ahlul Bayt? Everyone knew him. So, oh yeah, Jawad Ahlul Bayt, Jawad Ahlul Bayt. And this is because Jawad Ahlul Bayt, he says that whenever we sat together, and we would relax, have fun, laugh, sometimes even tell some jokes, just to, take our minds off the heavy load of studying. But he said, before we part company, everyone, and we did this, everyone around the room recited a hadith from the Ahlul Bayt, alayhi wa from Rasulullah, from any one of the Ahlul Bayt. Whether that hadith was connected to an ayah of Qur'an, and sometimes it was that, this is what the Ahlul Bayt have said about this ayah of Qur'an, or simply was just a hadith. Even one of the things he says, listen, and don't be ashamed or anything, that even if you repeat this hadith every single time we come, then make sure you recite the hadith, whatever hadith it is. And what this did, it instilled in us this habit that when we gathered as friends, when we had fun, and again, this is one of the things, don't think that, having fun is bad. No. Imam Ali bin Musa Rada, alayhi salatu wasalam, he says, when you divide your time, he says, one of those times is that you should have fun, which is halal. And he says, and that time period, it helps you with all of the other time periods, your ibadah, your connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your connection to your friends and family members. That when you are going to have fun, which is halal. So when we were there, even within that fun that was halal, he says, before we part ways, remember Ahlul Bayt. Let's share with each other something of the knowledge of Ahlul Bayt alayhim afdalus salatu wassalam. Even if we repeated it 100 times, no problem. He says, each time it is repeated, is good, it's beneficial. So that friend, the second quality is that person, when they speak, they should remind you of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The third quality that Isa ibn Maryam, he gave to his companions, again, his own companions, his Hawariyin, that what type of person should we take as a friend, and we should sit with that person and enjoy their company. He says, مَن يَرْغِبُكُمْ فِي الْآخِرَةِ عَمَلُهُ. This is that person that his or her actions, it encourages you for the akhirah. It gives you hope in the akhirah. It gives you, again, that raghbah, that, I can't wait to reach to that moment. Yes, we live our lives through this world and benefit from the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but also in the akhirah we will benefit from the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And inshallah, that you create such a friendship and such a relationship in this world that even in the akhirah, you would want to be in that company of those individuals. And one beautiful story about this, or at least kind of the thinking that some of the Shia of Muhammad or Ali Muhammad that they had, that these individuals that when they were in the company of Ahlul Bayt alayhim afsalatu wasalam, and more than one of the companions, they indicated this. They said that when they were with one of the Ahlul Bayt, whether it was with Rasulullah, whether it was with Amir al-Mu'mineen Fatima al-Zahra, and someone asked them, oh, do you have this raghba in paradise? And they said, oh, as long as we're in their presence, we are in paradise. We are in paradise. This is Jannah. Meaning that being in the company of Ahlul Bayt alayhim afsalatu wasalam was such that these companions, they didn't want to part from the Ahlul Bayt. They understood that, that there is no blessed place better than being in the company of Ahlul Bayt. And this is why also when the Ahlul Bayt alayhim afsalatu wasalam is often said that they would have servants, slaves. And many of these individuals, they were free. They weren't slaves. They were free. They purchased them because other people were capturing them in war, and they set them free. But these individuals, they were like, no, I don't want to go anywhere. Why? Because in their presence, they felt paradise. They're like, there's no better place on earth than with Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad alayhim afsalatu wasalam. The qualities that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he points out in the 16th Juz of the Qur'an. And almost in every place Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, for example, the verse that we started with when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَذْكُرْ فِي الْكِتَابِ إِبْرَاهِيمَ, that remember in the book, remember in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's revelation, Ibrahim. إِنَّهُ كَانَ صِدِّيقًا نَبِيًّا. So why Ibrahim? He was Siddiq. He was a person who was truthful. He was honest. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he gives the same with a number of his prophets. Idris, Musa, says that remember them in the book. And he describes certain qualities about each of these prophets. And these are, subhanAllah, qualities that every person should have, or at least those individuals that we are looking for as friends. One of them is to be honest. So, to be honest, Siddiqan. The other one that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Mukhlisan. وَذْكُرُوا فِي الْكِتَابِ إِبْرَاهِيمَ Musa إِنَّهُ كَانَ مُخْلِصًا. That this individual, he's mukhlas, he's sincere. Or she's sincere. You want a friend who is sincere. You want someone who is honorable. That if you entrust them with something, whether it's something physical, I gave this person money, you entrusted them with that, and they protected it. Or even something greater than that, you entrusted them with your difficulties. Maybe you're having some sort of difficulty in life. That's, my friend, listen, I'm having this trouble. I'm struggling with this. Whether it be something that you're struggling with your deen, your faith, struggling, in your family relationship, whatever it may be, that this individual is what? Is Amin. It's not someone who's going to expose you or expose your shortcomings. But even more than that, this is an individual who will help you over that difficulty. That person who will protect your honor, protect your dignity, but at the same time, also, again, not let you get away that, and again, that's person's not a friend if he says, oh, yes, I'm your friend, and I see you making all of these mistakes, you're going around in the wrong path, and then they don't say anything. So, this it's my friend, just leave her. No, that person will grab you by the hand and says, listen, come back. I know you're struggling. You're struggling, but that's not an issue. I'm going to be here for you to help you to set your relationship right and straight with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first and foremost. Or set your relationship straight with what? Whoever, you may have some sort of issue with among your friends, among your family member, that person is a friend. And the quality, of course, that all of these individuals have, the Anbiya, that makes the best of friends, is that they had Iman. They were individuals who believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Again, those criterions that Isa bin Maryam, he laid out, that they had Iman. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, again, on one hand, the Ahlul Bayt, they are giving us this dua because having friendship is not something to be taken lightly. We shouldn't go through life being alone or, I have no one to turn to. I have no one to turn to. One very beautiful, this is kind of a parable, it's not a true story, but again, it shows the benefit of having friends. And this parable, this story is about a hawk. Again, this is a very strong and, male hawk, and, very good hunter. And he was a loner, wanted to be alone. But then he saw this other hawk or falcon, female falcon. So he was like, oh, well, maybe I want to, I'll get married and, be with this falcon. So she said that, okay, well, we can be a couple, we could be companionship, we get married, but one condition. And subhanAllah, look at this condition of marriage. Sometimes, the conditions that, as a sheikh, we come forth and then, people, they write down the conditions they have in marriage. A lot of it is about dunya, this and that, or how much is this, or how much I get that. This falcon says, yes, I'll get married to you, this hawk, this brave hawk. But the condition I have is because I know you're a loner. You don't have any friends. The condition I have is that you have to have friends. You have to get 3 friends. Once you gain 3 friends, then we can get married. So because it's not good to be alone. So this hawk went and started trying to make friends, made friends with a tiger, made friends with a turtle, made friends with a snake. He says, okay, now I have 3 friends. So she said, okay, great. Now invite these 3 friends to our wedding. And 3 friends came to the wedding. When they first had their eggs, their children, the 3 friends were informed on it. Oh, we have this. Then a day came that there were hunters coming. And what did they want? They wanted to capture some falcons. Oh, well, we're going to cage them. We're going to get them. We're going to tame it, whatever they're going to do. So as the falcon sat on the eggs to protect the eggs, she was like, we don't have any defense because I can't go, and you need to go and either bring fruit. Go get your friends. So she went to get it. So the hawk went and gathered his friends, and that's how they protected their family. That's the importance of friendship. Because at times we need individuals in our lives that can help us through difficult times when we can't work our way through it. We need those people that we can lean upon. And those individuals should not be among the ashrar, as we ask for in that dua of the 16th day. وَجَنِّبْنِي مُرَافَقَةَ الْأَشْرَارِ. That, oh Allah, that anyone who has ill intentions, that make sure that I'm not companions with them. Make sure that they're not my company, not the ones that I think I can rely on, because in reality, you can never rely on such individuals. These are the individuals, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He describes them very precisely in Surah Maryam. He says, وَاتَّخَذُوا مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ آلِهَةً. He says, these individuals, the ashrar, says they've taken a god other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That their deity is other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what is perhaps that deity? What is the most prevalent? As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, He says, have you not seen that person? اتَّخَذُوا إِلَهُهُ هَوَى. That person who is divine being, his God is what? Hawa. His own nafs. Meaning that those ashrar, they only look out for themselves. Yeah, they'll be with you. They'll kind of be your friend and company as long as they have some benefit that they can gain from it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He defines them very clearly. He says, اتَّخَذُوا مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ آلِهَةً. Their most important person is themselves. لِيَكُونُوا لَهُمْ عِزًّا. Why? Because they're looking at their own dignity. shut off that. Oh, well, if I have something to gain, if I'm going to be dignified, if I'm going to look good, no problem. I'll be with this person. But as soon as, oh, hey, wait a minute, this person is dealing with some issues, I don't want to deal with that. It's going to embarrass me, or, hey, I'm going to look bad, or people are going to think this. Well, that is not true friendship. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, سَيَكْفُرُونَ بِعِبَادَتِهِمْ. Again, these are individuals. Again, when they are not worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then they're not going to lead. They themselves don't have any importance for the deen, nor are they going to remind you of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nor are they going to remind you of the akhirah, nor is their speech going to add any beneficial knowledge to you. Those criterions that Isa ibn Maryam he mentioned. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَلَمْ تَرَ أَنَّا أَرْسَلْنَا الشَّيَاطِينَ عَلَى الْكَافِرِينَ. In reality, what is their qualities? شَيْطَانَ شَيَاطِين مِنَ الْإِنسِ وَالْجِنِّ مِنَ الْجِنِّ ins. Then again, their qualities are not sincere. One beautiful story in this regard, inshallah, and with these two stories. One is one companion of Imam Jafar as-Sadiq alayhi hafizahullah by the name of Shu'aib. He came to the Imam. And he was in a difficult situation. He says, Ya bani Rasulullah. He's like, look, I've come to a difficult point in my life where I'm stricken with poverty. I went to family members, again, thinking that, oh, hey, who's a better friend in your family? He says, I went to them, he says, and their reaction and their rejection of me only created more distance. So I'm now stuck, and they refuse to help me. So then he asks Imam Sadiq alayhi hafizahullah, he says, Ya bani Rasulullah, he says, make a dua that I am without need. Be niyaz as khalqi, as makhlukat. That all, that I don't need anyone. Imam Sadiq alayhi hafizahullah, he says, no. He says, don't make that dua. He says, nor would I make that dua. He says, such a dua would not be accepted. He says, why? He says, because the rizq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is spread through this world, through the other creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says, but make the dua that you do not have any need for the ashrar. That be niyaz as insani bad khalq. So you make that dua that, look, if that person is among the ashrar, I don't need them. Ya Allah, make that. So Ya Bani Rasulullah, make that dua for me. And other than that, we need people. We need friendship. We need relationship. We need those individuals that will remind us of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and set ourselves back on the right track. And I'll end with this very beautiful story of Allama Majlisi. This is Allama Majlisi, the father, so Mullah Muhammad Taqi Majlisi. This is the father of Allama Majlisi, who compiled the Bahar wa Anwar. Mullah Taqi Majlisi, again, among the very spiritual individual. Even Allama Majlisi himself, he says that he's seen karamat from his father. So Mullah Muhammad Taqi Majlisi, once he came across a group of individuals. One of the individuals who was, he was the leader of like a group of bandits and thieves. And so Allama Majlisi, Mullah Muhammad Taqi Majlisi, when he came across him, he says, listen, he says, either you come to my house or I'll come to your house. Either one, but we need to sit. We need to talk. So this individual says, okay, yes, come to my house on this day. He said that when Mullah Muhammad Taqi Majlisi, when he went to his house on that day, for dinner to break bread, this leader of the bandit and thieves and stuff, he came out, he was like, oh, you know what? He was like, why don't you come back another day? Just so happens the group of bandits and thieves of the city, they all gathered on that day. There were some issues that they needed to discuss, some plans that they were making. He's like, no, you come back another day. So Mullah Muhammad Taqi Majlisi, he says, no. He says, I'll come, no problem. I'll come, I'll sit with you. So he goes and he sits And so as they are sitting, and again, this leader, he brings, food and stuff like that. And he tells Mullah Muhammad Taqi Majlis, he says, well, one thing you have to know, and now that you're in all of our company, the company of the gangs, the thieves, he says, whenever we break bread with anyone, he says, that person is safe from us. He says, we don't bother them. We don't betray them. So Mullah Muhammad Taqi Majlisi, he says, you're lying. He says, you say you don't do khiyanat to that individual that you sit and you break bread with? He says, no, you're saying you're lying. And so they said, what are you talking about? He says, whenever you eat, he says, whose sustenance are you eating? He says, you're eating Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's sustenance. And if you're going out robbing people, stealing people, khiyanat min, you're betraying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whenever you sit and you eat, Allah is present everywhere. He's in your company. And so you break bread in His company with His sustenance, and then you go do khiyanat. He said that this individual, he began to shake. And when he began to shake, he stood up. He says, Mullah Muhammad, he says, you've done your job. He says, from this day forward, we will stop. We will not rob another person. And we will go and we'll now look for honest work. This is the friendship. Even if a person's struggling with difficulties, you don't leave them, but you help them to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And inshaAllah, that we, in this blessed month of Ramadan, can help each other, and especially our youth, who will be the abrar, inshallah, of the future, to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and keep all of us focused on our duty and responsibility to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah rabbil alameen wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi tahirin. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Allahumma ighfir dhunubana wastur ayubana wa qadi hawaijina washfi maradana wa rahman wa'atana wa ajil farja mawlana sahib al-asr wa zaman. واجعلنا من أعوانه وأنصاره والمستشيرين بين يديه وتحت لواء بحق محمد وآله الطاهرين.